What's going on, guys? Dela Cruz here with JTC Guitar. And today we have something very exciting for you guys. We are going to be making a track from scratch and showing you guys at home how you can do the same. Now, the awesome guys at Toontrack have sent over their EZ call line products for us to experiment with. So they're the plugins that we're going to be using today. So without further ado, let's show you guys at home what we've come up with. So now you guys have heard a taste of what the final track sounds like. Now it's time to break down the process and walk you through the steps of how we got there. Here we go. Okay, so as you guys know, all good tracks start with an idea. And 9 times out of 10, the idea for me comes from the guitar. With this track in particular, I kind of had this idea around this chord progression, and it's got this kind of E major thing. And I really liked the open strings and the jangliness that it kind of, and the vibe it brought. So I really wanted to focus on these open strings and try and keep that as a theme amongst the rest of the chords. So we've got... So the first thing I did was track an acoustic guitar with an SM7B. I think it works great for this context, and it really kind of helped set the structure of this song ready for all the other instruments that we're going to add in later on. And now we're going to jump into EZmix 3 by Toontrack. And this is a really, really awesome bit of kit. It's super versatile, and as you can see here, we've got presets for guitar, for bass, for drums, for keys, orchestral stuff, vocals, mastering. Nice and easy. What we're going to do, we're going to click on guitar. It's going to give us the option of electric or acoustic. In this case, of course, we're going to roll with acoustic. And now we're going to take a look at our right-hand side, and it's going to suggest all these different presets to us. So we've got acoustic guitar in room, acoustic guitar assistant. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to isolate my acoustic guitar left, and we're going to hit play, and we're just going to flick through all the different presets that are available on EZmix 3, and we're going to see what sticks. And then we're going to roll with that and apply it to our other acoustic guitars as well. So let's start with acoustic guitar in room. Okay, so I'm actually really liking this one here. This is Acoustic Strummer. I think it works great for what we're doing in the track. And I really like the compression on this and the top end. But actually, if you take a look here at the bottom, you can tweak these things, and they make it really simple for you as well. So I think with a lot of products out there, you can get option paralysis. There's too many things to choose. Whereas in this case, we've got a preset that already sounds great. That doesn't mean you can't tweak it afterwards. So I'm going to click play. We're going to tweak the drive on the compressor a little bit, and then we're going to tweak the treble as well. Cool. I think I've got it to a place where I feel pretty happy with that. Now we're going to close, and I'm going to copy that and apply it to the other channel strips as well, because In this scenario, we've got acoustic left and I've double tracked acoustic right. Reason I've done that, I'll show you in a second. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy that, paste it over, make sure that we've panned correctly there. Okay, now I'm going to isolate both of these and you're going to hear how both of these guitars are working together. I think it just widens the sound. And now let's compare if we have one guitar just down the middle as opposed to having two together. I think it just gives a much more 3D effect. And that's really what we're going for here, because this is going to create that stereo image with our final product. Okay, so now we've got those acoustic guitars tracked and we've got a sound that we're happy with. I'm also going to apply that to the intro guitar here. So once again, just paste that over. So then we're left with something like this. So I would really call that the skeleton to our track. It's got everything we need there. It's got the structure, it's got the chords, so we can plant our melody on top. So I guess the next step is to actually add some electric guitars to start making this feel a little bit more like a rock track. Okay, so now we're at the stage where we've got some structure, we've got our acoustic guitars down, and now this track is calling for some electric guitars. I want to back this up with a cool, clean sound, a little bit of chorus happening, some reverb, delays. So in terms of sounds, we're actually rolling with this US clean from EZmix 3. So it's got everything you need here. You've got chorus, reverb, compression. You've even got options over the EQ and the gain. You've got a little bit of a noise gate here to kind of stop the humming from these single coils. So now I've got the sound that I want. I'm going to start adding some electric guitars and we're going to start building up the structure of this track. Okay, so now we've tracked our electric guitar parts. We're now going to move through the different tones that we're achieving with EZmix 3. And I'm going to walk you through those and why I chose those. We're also going to talk a little bit about the different parts that are happening here and how it all comes together to help build the track and build the right energy. So we've got our first guitar here, which is guitar right, and we've gone for a clean sound with a little bit of chorus. We've got some ambience there as well and a little bit of compression, and it sounds like this. So we're actually still going for that open, jangly kind of sound. And to enhance that even more, I've double tracked this. Much like most of the electric guitars on this track, actually, just to give it that stereo width. And we've got this one hard right, and we've got the exact same thing hard left. And together, they sound like this. So you've already got that natural chorusing sound by having one left and one right. and then we're adding in chorus on top of it. We've got that beautiful ambience, and we've got a bit of compression there as well. So I'm really liking what that's doing in combination with the acoustic guitars. It just starts to sound really beautiful. So you've got that really lush wall of sound happening there. And then when we move into the pre-chorus, the next thing I tracked was this almost kind of Oasis-esque part. And I wanted this one right down the middle. And I wanted something that was kind of crunchy, but still had definition in the tone. I still wanted people to hear the notes and hear the kind of melody within the chords. Okay, so this is the part I came up with. So you can hear that it's definitely got some kind of Oasis influence to it, you know, maybe that's where I got the reference from. But when we jump into here, into EZmix 3, we've got this preset here, which is Chunky Brit, okay? And we've got a various bunch of options here. We've got control over the gain, we've got a noise gate once again, especially if you're using single coils, this is very handy. And we've got all this versatility over the amplifier and the equalization. We've also got a little bit of slapback delay and some spring reverb. And like I said earlier, this is kind of one of the things that I love about EZmix. It just takes out all the complex options and it gives you just enough to play with without overwhelming you. So if we go to the initial preset here, this is what it sounded like. And the only thing I'm really doing here, I pulled the treble down a little bit and I pulled the effects up. So I've got a bit more slap and a bit more spring. And then I've got the sound that I was after. So as you can see there, really didn't take much tweaking. So the presets are an excellent way of kind of moving through different tones there. So if we hear them together now with our first guitars, we've got something like this in the pre-chorus. It's also worth mentioning that when it comes to these tones, you do have the option to stack different presets and different effects. So on the left here, if we look at our virtual rack, we've got this Chunky Brit preset. Let's say that I wanted to add another effect. Maybe I wanted to a chorus. All you need to do is you just hit the plus sign here. You go to Guitar Electric, and you've got all these different options here. We've got like some more reverb. We've got clean comping guitar spring, and you can start stacking these things, you know, and then from there you can also take the mix option and you can blend that as well. So it really does have a lot of option to play with. Now we're going to move on to the next electric guitar part I tracked, which is the chorus chords. So as you can hear, this really has that wall of sound tone. I really wanted to give the chorus energy. It needed a huge lift. It's got those beautiful verse sections with that pre-chorus starting to build. Now we're at the chorus. I want to hit people with that wall of sound. And when it comes to guitar solos especially, it's only as strong as the track that it's on. So if we've got an amazing sounding track that's got this huge wall of sound, that is going to come across in the energy of your lead sound as well. So remember that when you're putting these tracks together. So the tone we're rolling with right now is a very, very slightly tweaked Matte Yellow High Gain. And this is a preset on EZmix 3, which is one of the core libraries. And we've got some room reverb, which really gives it a realistic guitar amp sound. I really like that. It gives the kind of illusion of a microphone in a room in front of a cab. We've got our EQ, we've got our gain, our output level, and we've got a noise gate. Once again, this is very handy when it comes to single coils, okay? So that tone to me, it's still got beautiful clarity, but it's hitting you with that wall of sound. It's got energy. And once again, we're ringing out these open strings, even on the electric guitar, to give it that jangle. So what I've done next is I've double tracked this. I've copied and pasted the settings over, and we've got hard left, and now we've got hard right. So together, once again, it's creating that stereo wide sound. And when you combine it with everything else that's happening, you get this sound. Okay, and now the last piece of the puzzle when it comes to the rhythm guitar parts is this countertone. We have got our kind of main wall of sound, and I would actually say that I guess it has a slight darkness about that tone. So I want something to balance it out that maybe is a little bit more pokey, something that is going to counter that in a good way. So let's hear the next part. So as you can hear there, yes, it's gainy, but at the same time, you're not just drowning it out with gain to the point where there's no clarity in the notes. You've still got that clarity. And we're keeping that theme of the open strings, that nice jangle. And this preset is called Thick Rocker. And we can see there, our gain is fairly low. I don't have any effects on this, actually. We've just got a little bit of reverb, very basic EQ. And like I mentioned earlier about most of these presets, they're pretty good out of the box. You don't really need to tweak them that much. So in this case, I've just pulled the gain down so that we're just starting to break up, and we're adding that energetic gain sound, but also we've still got clarity there. So if we hear these together with our previous chorus chords, we're going to get something like this. I also want to mention as well that when you're double tracking, it is important that they are completely different takes. Otherwise, you start to get all sorts of issues with like phasing. So you want to make sure that the left track and the right track, they're completely different takes, even if you are using the same tone. And then the slight differences in those takes is going to create that kind of stereo wide effect. So yeah, that's what we have going on with that wall of sound. Now let's hear all the guitars together. Okay, so hopefully you guys are starting to see what's happening there. We're starting to build some structure. We're adding energy. We've got a bit of light and shade with the different guitar tones happening. And like I said earlier, this is pretty much all just presets. Tiny little tweaks here and there because everyone's guitar is different. You got different input levels, different pickups. So the options are there and you can tweak them, but the sounds are fantastic. So we've got guitars down. Now we're going to move on to our next section, which is laying down the drums. Okay, so now we have got all our electric guitars down, we've got acoustic guitars, we're going to move on to the next step, and usually for me, it's actually drums. In this scenario, we're going to be using EZdrummer because it's got a lot of very useful features to help you achieve that sound in your head. Usually, I'll already have a rough idea of what I want the drums to sound like, especially having played the guitar parts in and feeling the rhythm and feeling the groove. However, if you are a little bit stuck on what your drums are going to sound like and you can't quite hear it in your head just yet, there are a lot of different features in EZdrummer 3 to help you achieve the sound in your head and get you closer to your final track. So the first feature we're going to explore is the EZdrummer Bandmate feature. This is a really, really clever feature that essentially scans your guitar part, your bass part, your keys part, or you could even drop a vocal part in there or a audio sample that has, I guess, rhythmic qualities about it, and it will scan it and try and come up with something on the drums to accompany your track. So in this case, we're going to go to select file. I'm going to drag my guitar riff in. And as you can see, analyze the audio. In this case, I've actually got my BPM set double, so the click is double, but I'm going to change that to 87.5. Got a time signature there. We're going to hit OK. And it scans my guitar part and it comes up with a suggested drum groove. So in this case, it says pop rock / country closed hi-hat A. It's a generated groove to try and match my guitar part. So let's hear it. So already, I think it's got pretty close to the sound that was in my head. Let's say that I wanted things to be a little bit more complex on the snare. You can up this to different levels, okay? So let's keep it at level 4 and see what that does to the snare. So that's a great feature. We can do the same with the kick and the hat, of course. So just for the fun of it, let's just see what happens when we crank these. So, you know, it's all in the same ballpark. It's just slightly tweaking according to your taste there. So we're going to bring it back down to where it was because I quite liked that. And then we've also got this feature on the right here. We've got velocity and we've got swing. So if we crank the velocity here, you're going to be getting harder hits the harder you push it, and softer hits the lower you pull it down. Another feature that is well worth mentioning here is that we're not just stuck with this exact groove here. Check this out. We've got all these matching grooves. We've got an insane amount of matches here. So let's just flick through and just see what sticks out. Okay, so as you can hear there's some great matches. It's definitely giving me some inspiration in what I'm going to do with my drum part. Okay, so another great feature of EZdrummer 3 is the grid editor. If I take this generated groove and I drag that and drop that into my timeline, essentially what that's going to do is that's going to sit at the bottom there, and I'm going to go to grid editor and I can tweak some of these hits individually. Maybe there's certain aspects of your track that require a little push here and there. And that's when you can add these accents and pull over your different kick hits. So you want that a little bit early, pull that in there. See, there's a little push there. So that little push there on the guitar sits there. So that kick drum is really going to help accent the guitar and accompany it like that. So if that's something you're looking for, where you're going to tweak individual hits a little bit more than the groove offers, then the grid editor is for you. We've also got this humanized feature here where you can actually tweak all these hits to feel a bit more human, similar to the swing we were adding earlier in Bandmate. However, this time in the grid editor, and we've got complete control over it as well. So we go down here, we've got our velocity styles, and we've also go over to more. And then if we go over to more, we've got normal, pushy, or laid back. Okay, the last thing I want to mention about EZdrummer 3 is all the MIDI options that we actually have here in the Groove library. We've got all these different styles to pick from. We've got pop, rock, country, you've got blues, disco, electronic, funk, fusion. We've got so many different genres and different styles of playing ready to go. In my case, we're looking at pop, rock / country. It's a pretty standard play style, so we're going to select that. And now we're going to look for fills, because this is going to be something that is going to save me a ton of time. I'm pretty good when it comes to programming beats, but I don't always want to spend hours dialing in fills to kind of add that to my track. I want something that's nice and easy. So we're going to explore some different fills now. So let's hit this. I'm going to hit fill. We're going to go with 4/4. And you've even got option here over what the power hand is. That's how much detail is in this app. But in this case, I'm going to keep it pretty open and just explore what different fills we've got going on here. The rolling train options, and we're going to go into pop. So even that is a great fill that you can kind of add in on the end here. So let's add that on the end of our timeline and see what that sounds like. So that's going to save me tons of time when it comes to kind of fine-tuning the drums. But now what we're going to do, we're going to take all this inspiration, we're going to take what we already have, and we're going to make some tweaks, and we're going to dial in the remainder of the drums for this track. Okay, so now we've experimented with the Bandmate option, the grid editor, and we've got some inspiration. I've now gone and taken that away, and we have dialed in the grooves that we want for this track, and we've added some fills, and I think we're pretty much ready to start messing around with some of the drum sounds available in EZdrummer 3. So we're just going to have a little scroll through and see what pops out to us. Okay, so out of these three options, between the bright room, the main room, and the tight room, I can totally see a use for all of these options. However, I think I'm going to roll with the main room because it's got a really nice balance of it not sounding like a huge washed out room, but also it's got just enough of that studio room sound that I'm looking for. Now I'm going to start experimenting with this library here. So we've got all these different drums and mixer presets. I'm going to go over here and select the reverb. Really liking the way that's sounding. We've got all these different options to play around with. So let's just flick through a few and see the difference. I want to try this one, Fat Crunch. And it's worth mentioning as well that these presets relate to this section here, the mixer. So if I'm finding that this is maybe a little bit too much on the crunchy side, pull it down. And like I say, we've got no end of options here. We've got all the Toontrack options as well. But like I say, I really like this reverb setting here. Nice and simple. And right here over at the plate reverb, that's what we're going to be blending in. So if I bring it all the way down, we're going to hear a much tighter sound. And then I start blending it in. So when I crank it, you can really hear that trail there. You can hear the kind of sizzle it's adding. But yeah, maybe too epic for me. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit and balance that. And I love these little features down here at the bottom, giving you so much flexibility. We've got the tape drive here. So if we crank that, we can get some kind of analog style saturation on our drums as well. And we can blend that into taste. Also, in this instance, I am finding the hi-hats and the cymbals a little bit on the loud side. So I'm actually going to bring it down. You can individually change the volume of each aspect of your drum kit. So you can even change the volume of the kick sub as opposed to the kick in and the kick out. Same with the top and the bottom of the snare. So these are things that you want to be experimenting with, because having a lot of snare bottom versus snare top is going to sound like this. Versus the other way around. So you can kind of blend them into taste. I don't like to have too much snare bottom happening. I kind of prefer the sound of the top of the snare, but you know, each application is different. Okay, so now we've got the drums to a point where I'm pretty happy with them. Now we're going to explore EZmix 3 and how we can use that as a drum bus to get some extra punch on those drums and really just add the finishing touches to our drum sound. Okay, so what I'm actually doing here is I'm using Logic as a DAW and I'm going to bus 2. So select your bus. I've got this labeled as a drum bus already. And we're going to open EZmix 3. And we have got this preset called Drum Bus Drive. So if we isolate it, we're going to hear what that's doing. So what I'm actually doing there, I'm bypassing it and then I'm engaging it. So this is without. Then this is with. And I think it just kind of helps fatten them up a little bit, add that extra bit of punch. And it's got a kind of analog element about it. As we can see here, there's just two options. More compression and more tube drive. And that's what I'm really looking for here. Just getting a bit of that tube drive on the drum bus. And it's really helping it punch through nicely. Okay, so now we've got our drums finished. We are going to play them all together with our electric guitars and our acoustic guitars. Here's how it sounds. Okay, so it's also worth mentioning that with EZdrummer 3, there are tons of tonal options regarding snares, different kits, different cymbals, and this is all from the core line, but you can actually download additional add-ons and extras from the Toontrack website to suit different genres and different kind of styles of playing. It is also worth mentioning that you can map out all your outputs and you can have your kick being sent to one output within your DAW, same with the snare, same with the hi-hat, and you can individually mix the whole of EZdrummer 3 just like a real kit, and you can apply different plugins and experiment with that side of things as well. Okay, so now we've finished our drums, we are going to move on to bass. Okay, so now we've got our guitars down, we've got our drums down, it's time to add some bass. And what we're going to use for this is EZbass. And to be honest, the name is pretty appropriate because it is actually very easy to add bass using this software. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to head over to the audio tracker section within the EZbass app. And we've got a couple options here. We've got the option of selecting our audio file like we did earlier with EZdrummer. However, this time we're going to select this option, which is record audio from DAW for tracking. So what we want to do is add another blank channel strip now, and we're going to go to this plugin here called the Toontrack Audio Sender. What we're then going to do, we're going to rename this something that is easy to spot. So in this case, guitar root notes. I'm going to close that up. I'm going to head back into EZbass, and we are going to select input guitar root notes. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to close this, and I'm going to play along to this track, just simply playing root notes on my guitar, and that is then going to register within EZbass and convert it to MIDI bass files. Okay, so we're going to hit stop, and we can see instantly it has registered our guitar root notes as MIDI bass now. So what we're going to do, we're just going to have a flick through this and see what it sounds like. So instantly I can hear that some of the little bits aren't quite on the grid. What you can do is you can drag all this and you can quantize it. You can pull it into the grid a little bit more. So let's hear what that sounds like. And then from there, what you can do, you can zoom in and expand some of these notes like that. So now it's more to the grid, and we've got a great starting point that we can start to tweak. You can obviously move up and down octaves. You can change the velocity. Okay, so I just want to mention before we carry on, much like EZdrummer, we've got tons and tons of MIDI options. If you take a look here under grooves, we've got endless amounts of MIDI that you can actually drag into your project, tweak, adjust to your taste, and throw in your track as well. So like EZdrummer, we've also got all these different genres. We've got the different play styles. So you can really fine tune your bass and tweak every aspect of the bass that you add to your tracks. But what I'm going to do now is jump in and make the correct tweaks to this so that we end up with a full bass track. Okay, so now what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've tweaked the MIDI bass that we tracked via the audio tracker. I've got that to a place where I like it. And now we're going to jump into the bass tone. We've got all these different options. We've got EZbass Modern and EZbass Vintage. In this particular instance, I'm using the Modern because I just think it's got a bit of a cleaner, clearer sound for what I'm going for on this track. But for the sake of this video, let's check out what the Vintage sounds like as well. Now we're going to hear EZbass Modern. So yeah, with EZbass Modern, I feel like it's just maybe a little bit cleaner, a little bit more precise in this instance. So that's what I'm rolling with now. Now we're going to explore all the tonal options that you can get via this menu on the right here. We've got clean dynamic, deep amp, deep and bright, distorted metal. So, you know, you've got options for all different genres here. But I think I am going to roll with something along the lines of deep amp. Let's see what that sounds like. What I really like about this feature as well is you can adjust the compression. You've even got an option to increase the sub bass here as well. Just so you can really dial in that bass that kind of moves your chest and thumps you in the chest, you know. So we've got that dialed in now. Okay, so we've wrapped up all the bass now. I'm going to show you a short section of all the instruments so far. And then we're going to move on and jump into the most exciting part, which is the lead guitar. Okay, so now we're moving on to my favorite section, which is the lead guitar. We're now going to start by exploring some different tonal options via EZmix 3. These are all presets that I've found and tweaked, but kind of related to what I was saying earlier about stacking some of these presets and getting creative with it. That's exactly what I've done here. So we start off with this preset I found called Matte Fuzz Solo. And actually, although it intends to be quite a fuzzy tone, I've dialed the gain back so you've got this kind of blend of this thick lead tone, but also it's not kind of overbearingly fuzzy. So we've got something that sounds a bit like this. And then we've got this tape delay that we're going to stack on top. And once again, this is just a preset that I found by EZmix 3. It's just called tape delay. I've actually got it to sync to my project, so you get the syncopated delays. And then I've got the mix at 23. So once again, this is a great feature. You can actually blend how much delay you want on top of your solo. So if I bring that to 100, you're just going to get delay. I've got it around 20%. And I find that's the perfect kind of blend in the track. Yeah, let's roll with 20. And you can even do things like increase the feedback so it kind of lasts a longer period of time. You can sit there and it'll just go on and on and on and on. So anyway, I'm going to bring that back down to about halfway. We've got this feature here called wow and flutter, which is cool because it's essentially adding a little bit of modulation to the delay repeats. So you get a slight wobble there, which is cool. I guess it's emulating those analog old school tape delays, you know, that we know and love. You can increase the distortion on the delay repeats as well. So that's quite a saturated delay. I'm going to bring that back now. So yeah, I mean, you get the point. There's a lot of different delays you can explore on EZmix 3, but this is the particular one that I found. It didn't take very long for me to find this, and it sounded great. So I kind of moved on from there. Then we're going to add reverb. And I think especially with this track, the reverb and delay it adds more than you'd think to the lead tone. Without that, you get a very flat sounding lead. This really sets the mood and it sets the ambience. So I've chosen a plate reverb in this case. And what we're doing with this is, once again, we've blended the mix in to about 30. And then we've also got the time about just under halfway, I guess. And the character's set in the middle. If we tweak around with that character, you can hopefully hear the difference. So the lower the character in this instance, I'm hearing it sounding darker, and the higher we've got that cranked, the more top end is in that reverb. It's a bit more of a sizzly kind of plate. So I'm going to have that around halfway because I kind of liked that. And you can mess around with pre-delay as well. So I'm pretty happy with that tone. And now I've got the right tone. I'm going to show you guys the melody that I was playing around with over this track. So I've kind of had this melody to kind of fit around the chords that sound something like this. So yeah, as you can hear, the tone sounds awesome. I think that works as a great melody for this track. So we're going to go ahead and actually track this now. And then we're going to start building the leads around from there. So here we go. Okay, cool. So now I've got my main chorus lead sound. I've actually gone ahead and added a harmony because I just feel like with this kind of track, it really lifts it and it makes it sound more epic. It sounds more emotional, sounds more melodic to my ears. So I like to add in that step just to give it that little lift and that layer. So main chorus melody being this. And from there, we're adding this harmony in, just really helps lift it. And it's one of those things that you don't realize is there until you isolate it like that. In the context of the track, it's kind of slightly behind the main lead just to assist it. It's not there to take the spotlight away, it's just there to help it. Okay, so that's the first thing that I did after laying down the main melody. And then the next thing that I did was actually track this verse section. And I really wanted this track to build up and feel really epic by the time you get to the chorus. So what I wanted to achieve with the verse is very mellow, melodic lines. I guess in the approach, I just wanted to leave space in the verse so I could build up in the pre-chorus and I guess peak at that chorus section with that melody. So this is what's happening with the verse. So you can hear we're really not trying to be the fastest player in the world at this point. It's all about the melody and all about serving the chords and the song behind it. And the last thing to note on lead guitar is I kind of thought it would be cool to slightly hint at the main melody that happens in the chorus, but in the intro. And I've actually used a couple of cool effects here. It's a mixture of using EZmix and just a basic channel EQ here. But yeah, check it out. So what I've actually done is use the main melody, which is this. And then I've just added some harmonics. So I'm just hinting at that melody that appears on the chorus, and it just kind of gives you a sneak peek before the track starts. It intros the track quite nicely. In terms of effects that I'm using there, I pretty much drenched it in reverb and delay. So I'm still using the same tape delay as earlier, still using the same reverb. I've just got the mix a lot higher. We've got it at 58 here, and we've got the tape delay at 52. And I think I may even have the feedback a little bit higher than previous. But yeah, they're just things to note. Obviously, when you're trying this at home, depending on what pickups you have, depending on how fast your track is and the tempo of your track, all these things vary. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of lead sounds. I was able to keep it really simple with EZmix 3 because a lot of the tones just sound great out the box. And then you just make these tiny little tweaks to adjust to the guitar that you're using, adjust to the track that you're playing on. But yeah, I had a lot of fun exploring the tonal options with EZmix 3. And we've got all the leads down. So now it's time for EZkeys and the final finishing touches. Okay, so now we're going to move on to keys and adding our final touches to our track. So EZkeys is a great software that essentially allows us to add piano to our track without having experience necessarily with playing the piano or being amazing at it. We've got tons of grooves and MIDI options here that we can select and apply to our track. So straight off the bat, some of these MIDI files are amazing. I mean, check out this. Really epic sounding. Check out this one. I can imagine that would sound great in a bridge section or a breakdown section. And, you know, this is all far past my ability of playing the keyboard. I can just about add some kind of pad style chords to my tracks, but I've never been able to add keys to this level. So I think it's a great option to use something like EZkeys when you want serious piano on your track, but you don't necessarily know how to play it yourself. So yeah, this menu gives you the option of tons of MIDI options. And what you can do, you can drag them in down here into this lower box, and you drag and drop that in there. So then what I did was essentially check out the chords to my pre-chorus, which in this case is F sharp minor. And then I've got G sharp minor to A major. So I started dialing that in using this middle section here, and you can change the different chords. Okay, so I've got F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, E, and you can add different kind of inversions of these chords as well. You can get E7, E add 9, E major 7, E diminished, you know, so there's tons of different options. We've got B, C sharp minor, F sharp minor again, and then we've got A to A minor. Okay, so now we're going to hear that in context. So yeah, that's really adding something now to my track, and it's just got that, I guess, that little bit of keys that we're after in the pre-chorus to give it a different texture. But yeah, it sounds great right out of the box. If you head over to this section, you can add hall reverb from within the app, but if you get a bit creative with it and you have EZmix 3, you can actually go ahead and dial in some piano effects here as well. So all I did was head over to the piano section, and you've got this menu of all these different piano effects. So if we scroll through, if I just solo the piano on its own, we can scroll through some different EZmix sounds. So you can get some really creative tones here, but I actually just love this piano enhancer one. It's just nice and simple, but it does the trick, and it lets it sit really nice in the mix. Okay, so if we head back to the EZkeys 2 application, another thing I do want to mention is the grid editor. Very similar to EZbass and very similar to EZdrums, we can go ahead and tweak all these fine details about the MIDI grooves. Sometimes you want a chord to come in on a push. You know, some of these things. So that little push there, you might want to add that in via the grid editor. So it gives you complete flexibility of taking these pre-made MIDI samples, tweaking them with your own chords, and then actually adjusting the timings when you need a little push here, a little push there. So you've got complete control over all of that. And not to mention the Bandmate feature as well. I mean, you can just drag audio in like we did with EZdrums earlier, and you're going to get all these different MIDI suggestions that you can pull into your track. So as far as EZkeys goes, it really does make it easy to add keys to your track, and I'm super happy with the sounds that we're getting today. So now we've established all of that, let's take a listen to the keys in the mix with all the other instruments we've got going on and see what it sounds like. So as you can hear, it is quite subtle. I don't have the keys that high in the mix because it's not one of the primary instruments here, but it is adding something, and it's definitely adding that kind of ballad vibe that we're going for here. So yeah, EZkeys 2, check it out. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to do to my track is use EZmix 3, and we're going to use the AI function in it to get our track mastered. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. If we go to our mastering strip here, we're going to open up EZmix 3. We're going to head over to mastering, AI assisted, and we've got all these different options on the right hand side here. But we're going to roll with Rock Master Modern. Sounds very fitting. And we're going to hit Analyze Track, and we're going to hit Play. And it's important that you play the loudest part of your track. So I'm going to play around the chorus. Okay, so now that it has analyzed my track and it's applied the mastering preset, we're going to hit play and we're going to see what it sounds like. Okay, so the first thing I noticed was the saturation sounds a little bit on the high side for my taste. So we're actually going to bring that down maybe about halfway and see what it sounds like. Okay, so that's already sounding great to me. Just because we're here, I'm actually going to flick through a few of these options because you never know, there might be some other cool options happening here as well. I actually really like this one, Pop Master. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that, I think. And we're going to show you the before and after now. So this is before. And this is after. So as you can hear, it just glues everything together and makes everything pop. So as mentioned earlier, you do have a load of other control options here. So you can blend the saturation, but I kind of like where it's at. So we're going to roll with that. Okay, so now we've finished our track and we've got everything done. Let's have a flick through and see what it sounds like all together. All right, guys, so there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We started off with a simple riff. We built it into a full track, all using Toontrack products. So if you do want to check out Toontrack products for yourself, head over to www.toontrack.com and you can actually access a 10-day free trial on all the core products. And it wouldn't be JTC without a full playthrough, so let's plug in and get into this track.